What's up, guys? This is the Atheist Chef here, and this is a part 2 for biomagnetism. I thought I had covered pretty well about biomagnetism and why I don't trust it, and I did the experiment and everything, but it wasn't enough. My good friend Heather LyricalOrion has done a reply video to it, and I realized apparently I left it way too open-ended. And maybe I wasn't clear enough, and I left some things to interpretation. So I'm going to fix that right now. So, without any further ado, let's begin. So what is biomagnetism? Biomagnetism is the phenomenon of magnetic fields that are produced by living organisms. Now, pretty much if you have a brain and a heart, you're going to produce some sort of electrical current. If the electricity is flowing from your brain down your brainstem, that signal goes down, due to your nerves, it's an electrical current. Electrical currents pretty much always are going to generate some sort of magnetic field. It's just kind of a byproduct of a flow of electrons. However, biomagnetism quickly goes from science to pseudoscience when people that believe in it start to try to apply it. They think that they can harness or use that electromagnetic field that's found inside the body and apply it to certain things. For example, the penny to the coin trick that Heather has on 2 different videos going into explanation on what to do. And so basically, take out a penny, stick it to the wall, and the biomagnetic travels from your body to the finger, to the coin and the wall, and the penny sticks to the wall. Now, my video, I explained why that wasn't biomagnetism. However, it doesn't seem like I addressed the issue enough. So let me cover more, and probably the most damning evidence for why it could not be a biomagnetic field. I would like to start by fixing a flub that I had made in my last video. Humans do not have the ability to sense electromagnetic fields. We carry a protein that allows us to do so. However, we do not have the magnetoreceptors, as it's called, to send that signal to the brain, and let the brain translate it and help us sense it. So it's just kind of chilling and floating around in there. So it's practically useless. So humans do not have this capability. Whoa, change your shirt. Yeah, I know, it's been like a week or so since I started making this video, so sue me. Anyways, so what's really happening here? What's going on with the animals? How are they able to see the electromagnetic fields? Well, there is that protein, the cryptochrome. It's inside the eye. And basically it has a bunch of electrons, and light, as it's coming in, actually something happens, and apparently according to the studies showing that something makes the electron respond or wiggle. I mean, that's the term that the paper or the study used. So wiggling, and that sends a signal to the brain, and the brain interprets that and makes the electromagnetic field. Now, again, this is something humans just don't have. Just period. It's not there anymore, or at least from what we can find. And we obviously aren't experiencing as it is. It was something that we used to have. We have the cryptochrome, but we don't have the magnetoreceptor. It's just there's no reason for it anymore, apparently. So we've evolved out of that. So it's something that is natural, not something that can be done supernaturally. There's no amount of studying, there's no amount of focusing or understanding or concentrating. It's just simply not there. There's no, obviously animals aren't able to attune to their 3rd chakra. They just do it. They haven't evolved out of that. So really, there's just not really anything you can do. An important factor, though, that I haven't really pointed out is that the electromagnetic field that animals actually can see, or certain animals, which it tends to be birds and some types of sea turtles, not all animals, just just a very few, they can see the Earth's magnetic field. Now, the Earth's magnetic field is even itself not even consistent. Depends on where it is on the position of the Earth. The closer to the center of the Earth, it's a little more powerful. But it ranges from about 300 hertz to about 30,000 hertz, which is a measurement for frequency. So 300 to 30,000. Now, humans have an electromagnetic field as well. That's generated from the heart and the brain, the electricity traveling down the body, as I discussed earlier. However, its frequency, not even close. It's actually about a millionth of a hertz. Completely different. It actually falls underneath the infrared, area on the little electromagnetic spectrum. Like infrared things that we just can't see them, can't sense them, can't detect them. We just can't. So, but let's just say I gave you the benefit of the doubt, and you can actually sense these electromagnetic fields, or EMFs, as I'm going to continue to call them. Well, the thing is a lot of things produce EMFs. Our cell phones, to power lines, to TVs, to all these different things produce EMFs, and they are actually more powerful than the EMFs that our own body produces. So, if we can sense these things, we would be picking up everything. It would be incredibly hard to sense what EMF is coming from what. Even from the human body itself, it has different EMFs. It's different from the heart. The heart is about 1 million times powerful, I believe, than the brain, or more higher EMF and a higher frequency. Like it's different parts of the body have different EMFs as the currents are going down the body. From the brain all the way down to the arm or whatever. You couldn't distinguish from that and everything else. It'd be similar to if you've ever seen the Daredevil and somebody hits something really loud and it just everything goes really bright for him and you can't see. Or when you have night vision goggles and it's good for in the dark, but if somebody turns on a light, it's really bright as shit. We wouldn't be able to distinguish one from another. Not to mention the near impossibility of attuning our frequency, as some people like in spirit science or those people that follow that would say, tuning our frequency to this other person's and being able to identify it. And how do you distinguish one frequency from another? How do you go, okay, I want to find things that are only 100 megahertz or hertz frequency? There's no mechanization behind that. There's no explanation on how a person could do that anyways. So, yeah, there you go. Now let's move on. Okay, fine. So humans can't sense these EMFs. But can we utilize them? Can we apply them to our everyday lives and be able to do all these super cool things like stick pennies to walls? Well, no. I have already made the video, the other biomagnetism video, showing why the sticking the penny to the wall trick particularly is not anything to do with EMFs, but is mostly have to do with friction. So I've explained what it was, but now I'm going to really try to narrow down why it just cannot be any sort of electromagnetic field, anything. The first reason why we know that this is junk science is because EMFs are produced through the electrically charged particles running through a current. For example, if I think I need to move my fingertips, and I move the fingertips, that's an electrical current running from my brain down to my fingertips, and as they're going along, there is an EMF being formed on the outside. It's just hanging around because of that flow of the electrically charged particles. But once it reaches my fingertip, that's the end of that. You can't just harness your EMF once it's gotten to the end of the fingertips or the end of the current. It may linger for a little bit, at least the best that I know. But if I want to continue to use that or make my magnetic ability, the EMF, to extend beyond my body, I would have to continue to send electrical currents beyond my hand onto something else. But it doesn't get that far. It stops at the nerves. There are two sides of the same coin. really just can't have one without the other. You can't just have the EMF without the electrical current. So until we can find a way to ship out an electrical current beyond our fingertips, The second reason why we know this is bunk is we understand how Gauss works. Gauss is the measurement of strength of a magnetic field. Let's see, the Earth's magnetic field at the surface of the Earth, the one that animals can, pretty much dictate, and, or find, I should say, not dictate, is about 0.31 to 0.58 Gauss. So the lowest is about 0.31 Gauss, and once you get to the more of the core, the center of the Earth, you get about 0.58. Even the core of the Earth is 25 Gauss. But how much Gauss is, say, the human heart? The human heart, the Gauss, the EMF rating, or the rating over the EMF, is about 300,000 times weaker than the surface of the Earth. That is a very low rating. In the brain, it's about 300 million times weaker. It's incredibly tiny, like my penis tiny, right? It is much smaller. And for a comparison, how much it takes for, like, let's say, like a refrigerator magnet, that's about 50 Gauss. I'm really not going to do the math of how much smaller the magnetic field that is, because I'm not that good on the fly. So, even if somehow we manage to harness that EMF that our body produces, even from the differing frequencies from one body part to the other, even if we could manage that, it's such a tiny fraction of what it would be required to even make a regular refrigerator magnet, that it's completely implausible to think it's even possible to harness that much of an EMF. Thirdly, most objects just simply aren't magnetic, and no amount of magnetic fields being introduced to the environment will simply make them magnetic. It just doesn't work out that way. Even out of the periodic table of elements, there's only a few elements that are naturally magnetic, and half of those that are actually have to be exposed to a high dosage of EMF to actually force them to be magnetic. It's a process. So things like pencils, lighters, beer bottles, those things are not really magnetic. And they may have some sort of trace thing, but to say that, oh yeah, this is going to be, magnetized by something, no. It's ridiculous. Most interestingly enough is the penny for the biomagnetic experiment. Pennies are made of about 2% copper. Now, copper is very, 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 very weakly magnetic, and it requires an incredibly high magnetic field. Definitely beyond a regular magnet, even like the really small, like handheld magnets, not like refrigerator magnets, but ones that are more powerful, won't do it. It takes incredibly high magnetic fields. Definitely way beyond what the human body is capable of producing. Secondly, as far as pennies go, they are 97.5% made out of zinc. So it's a zinc, copper-plated zinc penny, mostly. Zinc is diamagnetic, as in it is opposed to magnetic fields. So for all intents and purposes, if there was any sort of magnetism going on, the penny should have been rejecting it. It should have refused. It should have actually been pushing in the opposite direction instead of being stuck to the wall. It should have been trying to fly out some other way. So that right there just knocks that out the park right there for me. Let's honestly think about this for a second. You're putting things up from quarters, which are mostly made out of copper, which are mostly not really magnetic, and maybe a little bit of, and about 8% nickel, which is magnetic by chance. You are using, people use flashlights, people use lighters, people use spoons, people use beer bottles. I mean, if you go onto the internet right now and go look it up, there's the beer bottle trick, the beer bottle bar trick. You'll stick it up to the corner of a wall, and they teach you how to do it. And they're not doing anything. They're not focusing. They're not channeling their energy. They're not focusing their chakras, all that stuff. It's a bar trick. I mean, I've seen Christians using this to prove faith in God. I've seen Islamic people doing this, show, the same kind of trick. There is nothing special. And if you're going to try and tell people, yeah, this is how you do it, you focus, and then you really have no backing. Because I know these people aren't doing it. They don't have this untapped potential. It's a trick you can learn on the internet. Anybody can do this stuff. So, when it comes down to it, it's really just a fallacy of equivocation. They saw an event, such as the penny sticking to the wall, and it acts, it almost looks like it's magnetic because it's sticking to the wall, and so obviously it has to be some sort of magnet. But there isn't. And hopefully this video has shown this now. Hopefully I can stop talking about this. Hopefully I don't have to make another video, because there's just no way. There's not enough power or a Gauss in the EMF to produce a magnetic field. And even if you could produce a magnetic field, that's not how objects work. And then most of the objects that are still seem to have the appearance of being magnetic, they're actually diamagnetic, and it should have been contrary to the claim. And then finally, just we understand it. We understand the phenomena. We know that it's friction. We can do it as a simple bar trick. It's just, there's no biomagnetism. Period. You can't harness EMFs. You can't use it. It's a parlor trick, and there's nothing special about it. And if you believe that, then you're deceiving yourself at this point. Anyways, I hope this was helpful to you guys. I know this is a little longer than I wanted it to be, but man, there's just so much to talk about on that. So this is the Atheist Chef signing off. Peace. The biomagnetic travels from your body to the finger, to the coin and the wall, and the penny sticks to the wall. Now, my video, I explained why that wasn't biomagnetism. However, it doesn't seem like I addressed the issue enough. So let me cover more, and probably the most damning evidence for why it could not be a biomagnetic, a byproduct of a flow of electrons. However, biomagnetism quickly goes from science to pseudoscience when people that believe in it start to try to apply it. They think that they can harness or use that electromagnetic field that's found inside the body and apply it to certain things. For example, the penny to the coin trick that Heather has on 2 different videos, going into explanation on what to do. And so basically, take a penny, stick it to the wall, and the... What's up, guys? This is the Atheist Chef here, and this is a part 2 for biomagnetism. I thought I had covered pretty well about biomagnetism and why I don't trust it, and I did the experiment and everything, but it wasn't enough. My good friend Heather, LyricalOrion, has done a reply video to it, and I realized apparently I left it way too open-ended, and maybe I wasn't clear enough, and I left some things to interpretation. So I'm going to fix that right now. So, without any further ado, let's begin. So what is biomagnetism? Biomagnetism is the phenomenon of magnetic fields that are produced by living organisms. Now, pretty much if you have a brain and a heart, you're going to produce some sort of electrical current. If the The electricity is flowing from your brain down your brain stem. That signal goes down, due to your nerves. It's an electrical current. Electrical currents pretty much always are going to generate some sort of magnetic field. It's just kind of field. I would like to start by fixing a flub that I had made in my last video. Humans do not have the ability to sense electromagnetic fields. We carry a protein that allows us to do so. However, we do not have the magnetoreceptors, as it's called, to send that signal to the brain, and let the brain translate it and help us sense it. So it's just kind of chilling and floating around in there. So it's practically useless. So humans